Have you ever looked at an elderly loved one and thought, they're doing just fine, only to find, a few months later, their health takes a turn you never saw coming? Maybe it started small. They stopped finishing their meals. Or they got quieter, maybe even a little forgetful. But nothing that seemed serious enough to worry about, right? Until suddenly, everything changed. One fall. One trip to the hospital. One diagnosis you weren't ready to hear. And then you wonder. Was it always there? Were there signs I just didn't see? Let me tell you something that might be hard to hear, but you need to hear it. Most older adults don't suddenly get sick overnight. Their bodies, and minds, often whisper long before they shout. But those whispers, they're easy to miss. Especially when life is busy, when routines feel normal, and when no one tells you what to watch for. The truth is, a lot of families don't recognize these early warning signs until it's too late. Not because they don't care, but because no one ever told them what to look out for. And that's heartbreaking. Because the difference between losing someone suddenly, and giving them a few more good years, maybe even 5 or 10, can come down to just knowing what questions to ask. So, I want you to ask yourself this, honestly, when was the last time you really looked at the way your parents or grandparents are living? Not just if they've taken their pills or made it to the doctor. But how they're sleeping. How they're moving. Whether they're engaged, alert, steady. Or slowly, quietly, fading. Because in this video, I'm going to show you 5 unexpected reasons many older people struggle to live past 80. Not the obvious stuff you've heard before. These are subtle, easily missed changes that silently chip away at their health, while everything on the surface still looks okay. By the end of this video, you'll understand what most people overlook, until it's too late. And once you know, you can take real steps to protect the people you love. So, before we dive in, I want you to do something important. Comment, "I'm here," below if you're ready to become more aware, more proactive, and more prepared to care deeply for the elders in your life. And if this matters to you, if you believe in honoring and supporting our aging loved ones with the attention they deserve, then hit that subscribe button now. This is Elderly Wisdom Tips. And here, we turn quiet truths into powerful action. Let's get started. Let's begin with something that doesn't show up on a blood test, but quietly, powerfully, chips away at life. Loneliness. Not just being alone, but feeling alone. You see, there's a big difference between solitude and isolation. Some older adults enjoy their quiet time. They read, they pray, they reflect. That's healthy. But what happens when the phone stops ringing? When the house that was once full of laughter and footsteps now echoes with silence? Take Mr. Alvarez, for example. His wife passed away 6 years ago. They'd been married for over 5 decades. After she was gone, he told everyone he was fine. And in a way, he meant it. He didn't want to burden his children or seem like he was falling apart. But gradually, the signs were there. He stopped tending to his garden, his pride and joy. He didn't return his neighbors' calls. He skipped meals. Not because there was no food, but because eating alone just didn't feel right anymore. From the outside, it didn't look like an emergency. But inside, something real and dangerous was happening. Loneliness isn't just emotional. It's biological. When a person feels chronically isolated, their body responds as if they're under stress, constant, invisible stress. Cortisol levels rise. The immune system weakens. Inflammation increases. And get this. Studies show that chronic loneliness is as damaging to long-term health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15. It quietly increases the risk of heart disease, dementia, stroke, even early death. Not because someone stopped taking care of their body, but because their heart, their mind, and their spirit were slowly shutting down in silence. Here's the heartbreaking part, many families don't notice. Or they assume it's just a phase. He likes his space. She's just not a phone person. They've always been a little quiet. But no, this isn't just about personality. This is about connection. And when that's missing, everything else begins to unravel. The good news? You don't have to fix everything. You just have to start showing up. Even small steps make a massive difference. Set up a weekly call, even 10 minutes. Drop by for coffee, even if they say you don't need to. Help them join a community group, a local senior center, or even teach them how to video call with their grandkids. And if they push back, don't take it personally. Sometimes, pride makes people say, "I'm fine." But deep down, they're craving connection more than they'll admit. Because we're not meant to live, or age, completely alone. We all need to be seen. We all need to be heard. And as people grow older, that need doesn't go away. It grows. But emotional disconnection is just one piece of the puzzle. Sometimes, the danger isn't in what's happening around them, but in what's quietly happening inside their body. Now let's talk about something that's easy to miss, because it hides behind a neat row of prescription bottles, lined up on the kitchen counter or tucked away in a pill organizer. Over-medication. Mary was 82. Sharp as ever, warm-hearted, and never missed her favorite Sunday crossword. She took 9 different pills every day. Prescribed over the years by different doctors. One for blood pressure, one for cholesterol, another for sleep, another for arthritis pain. All seemed necessary. But no one, not her kids, not even her primary doctor, stopped to ask how all those medications were working together inside her aging body. And that's where the danger started. Because as we grow older, the body doesn't process medicine the same way it used to. The kidneys slow down. The liver doesn't filter as efficiently. Even stomach acid changes, which can alter how a drug is absorbed. Polypharmacy, that's the medical term for taking multiple medications at once, can quietly stress vital organs. Especially when dosages are based on standard adult recommendations, not fine-tuned for someone in their 70s or 80s. And here's the kicker, many of these medications were never tested extensively in elderly populations. Why? Because most drug trials focus on younger, healthier adults. So the side effects that show up in older people? They're often unknown, untracked, or simply underestimated. Mary began feeling more tired. She had dizzy spells. She started forgetting names, something totally unlike her. Her family thought it was aging. But it wasn't. Her liver was overwhelmed. Her kidneys were struggling. And one medication was actually interfering with the others, making her feel worse, not better. The tragedy? It was preventable. You see, we often assume, the doctor knows best. And yes, many doctors do amazing work. But when prescriptions are added one by one over the years, by specialists who don't always talk to each other, things get missed. The solution? Don't wait for a crisis. Schedule a comprehensive medication review every 6 months. Ask to meet with a geriatric pharmacist or a doctor who specializes in elder care. Bring every pill, prescriptions, supplements, even over-the-counter ones. Make sure someone is looking at the whole picture, not just one piece. Because what's meant to help, can sometimes quietly hurt, when no one's paying attention. And while medications can silently affect the organs inside, there's another hidden danger. Let's shift to something that happens so slowly, most families don't even notice it's happening, until something serious forces them to. Sarcopenia. That's the medical word. But in plain terms, it's the slow, silent erosion of muscle. George was 77. He used to walk around the neighborhood every morning, rain or shine. Just a steady half-hour stroll, nothing fancy. Neighbors would wave. He'd chat with the mailman. But over time, he began walking a little less. His knees hurt. Then his balance felt off. Then one day, he grabbed a cane, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. 8 months later, he fell in the hallway, and broke his hip. Everyone said, well, that's old age, right? But no. This wasn't just aging. This was muscle loss, quiet, consistent, and entirely underestimated. After the age of 60, the body naturally starts losing 3 to 5% of its muscle mass every single decade. That might not sound like much. But muscles don't just help us move. They help us balance. They help us burn energy. They help us stand, reach, lift, even breathe. And when those muscles weaken, it doesn't take much for everyday movements, like getting off the couch or stepping over a rug, to become dangerous. Now here's a common misconception: when an older adult feels tired or weak, most people say, just rest. Take it easy. Don't strain yourself. But that's where we get it wrong. Because resting too much can actually accelerate muscle loss. It becomes a vicious cycle: you move less, you lose more muscle. You lose more muscle, you move even less, until suddenly, things like walking to the mailbox or standing in the shower feel overwhelming. But here's the hopeful part: it's not irreversible. Even in our 70s, 80s, and beyond, the body can respond to gentle strength work. We're not talking about lifting heavy weights at the gym. We're talking about simple, smart movement, using resistance bands while seated. Doing chair squats just a few times a day. Joining a guided senior movement class, many of which are available online for free. And most importantly, make it consistent. Even 5 to 10 minutes a day can rebuild strength, improve stability, and boost confidence. Because mobility isn't just about walking. It's about freedom. It's about being able to live on your own terms. And when we protect our muscles, we protect that freedom. But while muscle loss affects the body, there's another change that creeps in even more quietly. It's not something you can see. And often, not even something they notice themselves. Let's talk now about a hidden cognitive shift that many families misunderstand, until it's already affecting decision-making, safety, and identity. It is both invisible and misunderstood. A slow unraveling that often hides behind a smile or a vague story. It's not just forgetfulness. It's not just getting older. It might be something deeper. Something quietly changing the brain without anyone noticing. Silent cognitive decline. Take Aunt Clara, for example. She was always sharp, always punctual. She never missed a birthday. But over time, her family noticed she started asking the same question, more than once. She'd forget doctor's appointments. She got lost driving a route she'd driven for 40 years. Her family chalked it up to aging. They thought, it's just part of getting old, right? Then one morning, Clara couldn't form a sentence. She was rushed to the hospital, and that's when the doctor said something no one was prepared for: she's had a series of microstrokes. Probably over the last year. Tiny strokes. So small they didn't show obvious signs. But inside her brain, they were damaging tissue, bit by bit, until the effects became impossible to ignore. Microstrokes, or silent strokes, don't cause dramatic collapse or slurred speech. They don't make the headlines. But they leave scars on the brain. And each one chips away at memory, clarity, and function. The worst part? They're often missed. Because confusion, forgetfulness, even mood swings, these symptoms are too easily waved off with a smile and a shrug. We say, that's just old age. Everyone forgets sometimes. Or the most common one, well, at least it's not dementia. But what if it's the beginning of something bigger? That's why we must take these signs seriously. Because catching it early makes a difference. Not just in treatment, but in quality of life. So, if someone you love starts repeating themselves more often, if they seem suddenly withdrawn, irritable, or confused in new situations, don't settle for a simple screening. Push for a neurological evaluation. Ask for imaging. Ask for a specialist. You're not being dramatic. You're being protective. You're seeing something others might miss. Because with the right care, early detection of microstrokes can prevent further damage. And sometimes, even reverse the trajectory with proper treatment, lifestyle adjustments, and medication. You'd be amazed what early attention can do. But now, we arrive at the final and perhaps most unexpected reason many older adults struggle to make it past 80. This one isn't about the brain. It's not about the heart or the muscles. It's about something so common, so familiar, we forget just how dangerous it can be. It hides in plain sight. And yet, it's one of the most underestimated threats to elderly health today. It seems harmless on the surface. Something so common in older adults that we almost stop questioning it. Waking up at odd hours. Tossing and turning through the night. Dozing off during the day without warning. At first glance, you might think, that's just how aging works. But what if poor sleep isn't just a symptom of getting older? What if it's a silent contributor to the very decline we're trying to prevent? Take Mrs. Thomas, for example. She was 82, gentle and full of stories. But then she began waking at 2 a.m. every night. Sometimes confused. Sometimes anxious. She'd wander the house. She'd forget if it was morning or night. During the day, she couldn't stay awake. She missed meals. Skipped medications. Eventually, even conversations became difficult. Her family thought, well, her body's just changing. Maybe it's insomnia. But it was more than that. Sleep isn't just rest. It's restoration, for the brain, for the body, for the soul. And as we age, the body still needs that time to repair cells, balance hormones, process memories, and regulate immune function. Without deep, restorative sleep, everything begins to suffer. Hormone levels shift, which can affect appetite and mood. The immune system weakens, making it harder to fight off even small infections. Cognitive health declines faster, confusion grows, memory fades, and emotional stability erodes. But here's the problem, we often brush it off. We say things like, seniors don't need as much sleep. Or, it's normal for them to nap during the day. But that's a dangerous myth. Older adults still need 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep per night. Not just scattered naps, but real, uninterrupted rest. And here's the kicker, most sleep issues in older adults are fixable. They're just underdiscussed. Sometimes it's pain that keeps them awake, arthritis, neuropathy, even discomfort from medications. Other times, it's sleep apnea, a condition that often goes undiagnosed because people assume snoring is harmless. Or it might be anxiety, depression, or loneliness that interrupts the brain's ability to relax. So, what can we do? Start small. Help your loved one build a bedtime routine, the same way we do for kids. Dim the lights in the evening. Turn off screens at least an hour before bed. Keep the room cool and quiet. Avoid caffeine after lunch. That little afternoon cup of tea or coffee might be what's keeping them up at night. And most importantly, talk to a doctor. Not just about sleep problems, but about everything connected to it, medications, breathing, pain, anxiety. Because once sleep improves, you'll start to see everything else improve too, energy, clarity, mood, even physical strength. It's like hitting a reset button every night. But if that reset button is broken, the whole system runs on empty. And that brings us to something bigger, the deeper truth behind all 5 of these hidden risks. They're subtle. They creep in quietly. And most of the time, they're not taken seriously, until it's too late. But now that you know the signs, let's talk about what it really means. Emotionally, mentally, and as a caregiver or loved one, when you start to see these changes in someone you care about. It's not easy. Watching someone you love slowly become a version of themselves you barely recognize. You see the shifts, the hesitation, the silence, the struggle to do things they used to do so easily. They smile and tell you they're fine. But deep down, you know something's changed. And it hurts. Because it's not just about memory loss or missed medications or sleepless nights, it's about watching the soul of someone you love start to dim. They were strong. Sharp. They raised you. Taught you. Made you laugh. They carried the weight of your world for years. And now, their world is shrinking, quietly, minute by minute, symptom by symptom. But here's something we don't say enough: these signs you've just learned about, they aren't just medical facts. They're invitations. A call to care. Deeply, intentionally, and with eyes wide open. You don't have to wait for a diagnosis to act. You don't need permission to show up with love. And I want you to hear this clearly: you are not powerless. Noticing these subtle changes, those tiny shifts in behavior or energy or interest, that's the first act of protection. That's what love looks like when it's paying attention. You may not be able to stop aging. But you can slow the decline. You can bring comfort. You can make their final years the most supported, cherished, and dignified chapter of all. So today, reach out. Call your parents. Visit your aunt. Talk to your neighbor who's been a little quieter lately. Look closely. Listen deeply. Ask gently. Don't wait until it's obvious. Because by then, it's often too late. And if they don't tell you what's wrong, that's okay. That's what you are here for. To notice what they don't say. To care in the quiet moments. To protect in the little ways that matter more than words ever could. You see, aging doesn't have to mean fading away. It can mean something more. More intentional. More tender. More connected. When you step in early, when you pay attention to these hidden signs, you're not just adding time. You're adding quality. You're giving them a chance to live, not just survive. And that is one of the greatest acts of love there is. So, take a deep breath. You don't have to do everything perfectly. You just have to show up. With open eyes. With a willing heart. And with the understanding that sometimes, saving a life, starts with simply noticing a change. Because aging isn't the end. It's a chance to care, to connect, and to make every moment count. Let's take a moment to reflect. Because what you've just heard, these aren't just facts to remember. They're lifelines. For someone you love. Maybe even for you one day. So, to quickly recap. Here are the 5 quiet but powerful reasons many older adults struggle to live past 80. Chronic loneliness, a silent force that wears down both the heart and the body. Overmedication, a hidden overload that slowly taxes vital organs without anyone noticing. Muscle loss, or sarcopenia. A creeping weakness that steals independence. Silent cognitive decline from microstrokes, subtle changes that many brush off as just old age. And finally, disrupted sleep, a thief of clarity, energy, and resilience. These are the overlooked causes, the ones families often miss until the damage is already done. So now I want to hear from you. What signs have you noticed in a parent, a grandparent, a neighbor, or even yourself? Have you ever looked back and realized the clues were there all along? Just quietly waiting to be seen. Leave a comment below. Even if it's just one word. Even if it's just, I'm watching. Because when you share, you're not just talking, you're helping someone else feel seen, too. And I read every single one. And if this video opened your eyes or touched your heart, hit that like button so more people can find this message. And subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Tips. Not because it's just another channel, but because it's a space for people like us. People who care. Who want to understand aging better. Who want to show up with intention for those we love. We talk about the things no one else does. The quiet signs. The gentle solutions. The deep truths about growing older with dignity, compassion, and clarity. And I want you to be part of that. Because this community, it's built on love. On presence. On action. So, thank you, for showing up. For staying curious. For caring enough to listen this far. You're doing more than watching a video. You're learning how to protect someone's final chapter, and maybe even give them a few more pages to fill with laughter, comfort, and peace. So, stay strong. Stay aware. And above all, stay loving. I'll see you in the next video.